All right, so we give praise, esteem, and honor the Abba and Shamaim in the name of Yahushua HaMashiach this day. Complete this up in John chapter 5, verse 39. Search the scriptures, for in them you think you have eternal life, and they are they which testify of me. And you will not come to me that you might have life. I receive not honor from men, but I know you, that you have not the love of Elohim in you. I come in my Abba's name, and you receive me not. And if another shall come in his own name, him you will receive. How can you believe which receive honor one from another, and not the honor that comes from Elohim only? Do not think that I will accuse you, the Abba. There's one that accused you, even Moses, in whom you trust. Had you believed Moses, you would have believed me, for he wrote of me. But if you believe not his writings, how should you believe my word? All esteem and praise the Abba and Shamaim in the name of Yahushua HaMashiach. Numbers chapter 1, verse 44. These are those that were numbered with which Moses and Aaron numbered, and the princes of Yasharal, 12 men. Each one was of the house of his fathers. So were all those that were numbered about of the sons of Yasharal by the house of their fathers from 20 years old and upwards, all that were able to go forth with war in Yasharal. Even all they that were numbered were 600,000 and 3,550. The Levites after the tribe of their fathers were not numbered among them. For Yahuwah had spoken to Moses, saying, only you shall number the tribe of Levi, neither you shall not, number the tribe of Levi, neither shall take the sum of them among the sons of Yasharal. But you shall appoint the Levites over the tabernacle of testimony, and over all the vessels thereof, and over all things to it, and they shall bear the tabernacle and all the vessels thereof, and they shall minister unto it. Shalom, brother Marvin. And shall encamp round about the tabernacle. And when the tabernacle set forward, the Levites shall take it down. And when the tabernacle is pitched, the Levites shall set it up. And the stranger that come near shall be put to death. And the sons of Yasharal shall pitch their tents, every man by his own camp, every man by his own standard throughout their host. But the Levites shall pitch round about the tabernacle of the testimony, that there be no wrath upon the congregation of the sons of Yasharal. And the Levites shall keep charge of the tabernacle of testimony. And the sons of Yasharal did according to all that Yahuwah commanded Moses. So did they. So, boom. I know we were talking about Zadok, and we still got stuff to deal with Zadok since we're dealing with the priesthood. But Madal had made a post I think it was yesterday. I ain't see it till today, though. As it pertains to praise music, singing and music with during worship services. So what I want to do is, Shalom, Sister Gina. What I want to do is see if any of you who were present remember this, because we went over this many moons ago. The first thing I need to do, I need to hit on something in particular. Let me find out where I wanted at. Hey, get in here and sit down, boy. You can go to 1 Chronicles 15 for the moment, though. No. Come over here to 1 Chronicles 23 first. Especially since we're dealing with that. This is 1 Chronicles chapter 23 and verse 1, man. So when David was old and full of days, he made Solomon his son king over Yasharal. He gathered together, and we got stuff in 1 Kings to finish. And he gathered together all the princes of Yasharal with the priests and the Levites. Now the Levites were numbered from age 30 years and upward, and their number by their polls, man by man, was 38,000. Of which 24,000 were set forward to the work of the house of Yahuwah. 6,000 were officers and judges. Moreover, 4,000 were porters, and 4,000 praised Yahuwah with the instruments which I made to praise. Now, I just read that. So I'm going to add peace, Brother Omar. Hey, man, y'all chill out. Sit down. And be quiet. Now, this is the question Madal asked. Let me just get it because I don't want to misquote the man. So I want to see if y'all have anything y'all can remember in regards to the question that he asked and how you would go about answering it. Now he said, can anyone show in the script a worship service with music and singing? And he asked not a random script that says make a joyful noise to Yahuwah. So again, the question is a worship service with music and singing. Now, it's a particular element in this that a lot of people probably overlook. It's understandable how they overlook it. First time we ever went over this was probably about 2019. And that's because somebody had told me the dog, man, like, basically people be ridicule and bruise who have what is deemed praise and worship. We just started talking about that the other day. That praise and worship is actually not a thing. You know what I'm saying? It's more so it's praise music, because worship denotes bowing down and giving reverence. You know what I'm saying? But you have some brews who do not agree with the aspect of what we presently call praise and worship, because they believe that's too Christian-y or whatever the case may be. But nevertheless, what's going on? Yeah, so does anybody have a scriptural example of that? Now, clearly, we just read right here in verse 5 of 1 Chronicles 23, moreover, 4,000 porters and 4,000 praise Yahuwah with the instruments. Now, of course, when you look at verse 1, you see that they were all gathered together, the princes of Yasharal with the priests and the Levites. So all the priests and Levites are gathered together at this particular juncture. Now, the question's still on the table, but we'll keep on reading this verse 5 one more time. Moreover, 4,000 porters, 4,000 praise Yahuwah with the instruments which I made to praise. Let me read you the definition of praise, man. And this is still a part of them dealing with the tabernacle of the testimony. Hey, check this out. Cut it out. Stop playing. Sit down. No, that's not what we're doing. I gave you instruments. Of course, this is where you should know Kaleh, Kaf, Lamad, vessels, article, implement, utensil, apparatus, equipment, tool, so on and so forth. But praise in this instance is halal. Hey, Lamad and Lamad, to shine, to flash forth, to praise, to boast, to be boastful, to praise, to be praised, to be made praiseworthy, to be commended, to be worthy of praise, to make one's boast. And also this is to be to shine, to make show, to make a boast, to celebrate, so on and so forth. Shalom, Brother Ernest, man. So with that being said, I'll read verse 5 again. Moreover, 4,000 porters, 4,000 praise Yahuwah with the instruments which I made to praise. David divided them into courses among the sons of Levi, namely Gershon, Kohath, and Merari. Now, this is what we're dealing with. You might hear us reference this when he's talking about, hey, be quiet. Dividing them into courses. Courses here is Makalaketh. Meme, Kot, Lamad, Kuf, and Tau. That's a division. That's a course. That's a class course of priests or a technical term for organization. Now, how we looked at that in the past, when you take this over to the New Testament, no. I get that. You thinking about the song of you talking about the song of Moses. But in that instance, that's not a worship service. He's talking about an actual service. Like what you see people doing in church. They come to church, people sing, play music. He's looking for a scriptural example of that. What you see in the modern time, does the text speak on that? Is it examples of that? So on and so forth. Ephesians chapter 4. That page don't. Ephesians 4 and verse 11. And he gave some apostles and some prophets and some evangelists and some pastors and teachers for the perfecting of the saints, for the work of the ministry, for the edifying of the body of Hamashiach. Now pause. Now 1 Corinthians 12. And this is where you see the New Testament execution of the courses or the technical term of the organization. This is how things are structured. David structured the Levites this way. Yahushua structured it in the New Testament as you see the testimony correlation. This is 1 Corinthians 12. 12, verse 27. Now you are the body of Hamashiach, and the members in particular, and Elohim have set some in the assembly, first apostles, secondarily prophets, thirdly teachers, after that miracles, then gifts of healings, helps, governments, diversity of tongues. Are all apostles, are all prophets, are all teachers, are all workers of miracle, have all the gifts of healing, do all speak with tongues, do all interpret, but cover earnestly the best gifts, and yet I will show unto you a more excellent way. Let's come back to 1 Chronicles 23. Hey, sit down and be quiet. Just sit down and be quiet. That's what I need you to do. Now, 1 Chronicles 23 and 6. And David divided them into courses among the sons of Levi, Gershon, Kohath, and Merari. And the Gershonites were Ladan and Shimei, the sons of Ladan, the chief, Yehiel, Zetham, and Joel. Now, we don't have to run through all that because that's going to be some more stuff right here, man. You could drop down to verse 13. The sons of Amram, Aaron and Moses. Aaron was separated that he should sanctify the most Kadash things, he and his sons, forever, to burn incense before Yahuwah, to serve unto him, and to Baruch his name forever. Now concerning Moses, hey, I need y'all to chill out. I don't need all that noise. I don't need all that going back and forth. I don't need to hear any reasonings, rationale, or nothing. I need y'all to cease and desist, or I'm going to start embarrassing people. Joanne, starting with you. Sit your behind down and put that damn toy down and act like you got some sense before I do something to you, because you're going to get embarrassed. Sit your behind down. Now, you can play with me if you want to, and you're going to see that I ain't nothing to be played with. Sit down. Now, with that being said, come over here to 1 Chronicles 15, man. We're going to pick this up at mine. You pick it up that verse. We'll move around. What's happening, Brother Nate, man? Dwayne Jamal. Cut it out. Then come here then, boy. Come here. Ain't nothing wrong with you. And David made him houses in the city of David and prepared a place for the Ark of Elohim and pitched it a tent. Then David said, none ought to carry the Ark of Elohim, but the Levites, for them have Yahuwah chosen to carry the Ark of Elohim and to minister unto him forever. That's what we heard in Numbers 1. David gathered all Yasharal together. Keep this in mind. David has gathered all Yasharal together to Jerusalem to bring up the ark of Yahuwah unto his place which he had prepared for it. And David assembled the sons of Aaron and the Levites and the sons of Kohath, Uriel the chief and his brethren, 120. We're not going to read all those. Drop down to verse 11. And David called for Zadok and Abiathar the priests, and for the Levites, for Uriel, Asaiah, Yoel, Shemaiah, Elel, Aminadab. And he said unto them, you, the chief of the fathers of the Levites, sanctify yourselves, you and your brethren, that you may bring up the ark of Yahuwah Elohim of Yasharal until I have prepared for it. For because not at the first Yahuwah Elohim made a breach upon us, for we sought him not after the due order. So the priests and the Levites sanctify themselves to bring up the ark of Elohim, ark of Yahuwah Elohim of Yasharal. The sons of the Levites bear the ark of Elohim upon their shoulders with staves. Thereon, as Moses commanded according to the word of Yahuwah. And David spake to the chief of the Levites to appoint their brethren, the singers, with instruments of music, psalteries, harps, cymbals, sounding, by lifting up the voice with joy. Now, let's take a look at that. Yeah, be quiet, son. Okay. Come here, Joanne. Joanne, what are you crying for? What are you crying for? So let's look at singers. And then there's another question to be posed. Now, singers, if you recall, is Sheer, Sean, and Raj. That's to sing. A singer, a songstress, to be sung. Now, it's saying in Job 36 and 24, the word is translated behold. In modern version, it's translated sing. The old translations consider the Hebrew word to be from a different root. Then thence the difference in translations. So sure, primitive root through the idea of strolling minstrelly to sing. Singing. Now we can look at Job 36 and 24, see what it says. Say, remember that you magnify his work which men behold. Let's look and see what word they got used here. And they got the same thing, and it means to sing, to be sung. Because, translating from Hebrew to English is a very difficult task, simply because the English language doesn't have comparables for certain words in Hebrew, and then they make stuff up to be able to fit into that point. Shalom, Brother Rob. Oh, we got singers. We need to still got instruments. We don't need the instruments of music. We don't need to look at the other stuff, the songs and the psalteries and all that good stuff. Now, instruments, you remember, is kule, same word for music, which is sure. Now, remember, all Yasharal is there. They're all gathered. They're bringing up the ark. I'm going to read verse 16 again. And David spake to the chief of the Levites to appoint the brethren, the singers with instruments of music, psalteries, and harps, cymbals sounding by lifting up the voice with joy. So the Levites appointed Heman, the son of Joel, and of his brethren, Asaph, the son of Berechiah, and of the sons of Merari, their brethren, Ethan, the son of Kusiah, and then with their brethren of the second, Zechariah, Ben and Yaziel, Shemarath, Yahiel, Uni, Elab, Benaiah, Messiah, Mathiah, Eliphel, Micaniah, Obed-Edom, and Jael, the porters. So the singers, Heman, Asaph, and Ethan, to sound with cymbals of brass. Zechariah and Aziel and Shemarath, and Yehiel and Unai and Elab and Messiah and Benaiah with psalteries of Elamah. Psalteries on Elamah. And Mathaniah Eliphalet, Micaniah, Obed-Edom, Yeiel, Azariah with harps on the Sheminith to excel. And Caniah, the chief of the Levites, for song. He instructed about the song because he was skillful. So now when you look at the brethren of the second degree, well, they got degree in quotations because that's not there. Second is Mishneh, which you know, second in rank, second in order. This is referring to their course. So this is the second course. Now it says that they were appointed to sound with cymbals of brass. This fourth is Heman. But I want you to write down when it says that Caniah, the chief of the Levites, be quiet, son, was instructed in song. Now, about the song here is Masah, Meme, Shan, and Aleph. It is a load, it is bearing, it is tribute, it is burden, but it's also uplifting, lifting that which the soul uplifts. So when you look at that which the soul uplifts, come over here to Colossians chapter 3. You boo-boo? You did? Colossians 3, man. Verse 10. And have put on the new, which is renewed in the knowledge, after the image of him that created him. Whether it is neither Greek nor Yahudim, circumcision nor uncircumcision, barbarian or Scythian, bond nor free, but a Mashiach is all in all. And put on therefore the elect of Elohim, Kadash and beloved, bowels of mercy, kindness, humbleness of mind, meekness, long suffering, forbearing one another and forgiving one another. And if any man have a quarrel against any, even as a Mashiach forgave you, so also do you. And above all these things, put on love, which is the bond of perfectness. And let the shalom of Elohim rule in your hearts, that which you are called in one body, be you thankful. Let the word of Mashiach dwell in you richly in all wisdom. Stop teaching one another, teaching and admonishing one another in psalms and in hymns and in spiritual songs, singing with grace in your hearts to the Lord. Now, does anybody know by definition what a psalms is? What is a psalm by definition? Now, I give you the Greek definition. Of course, we'll get the Hebrew definition, but I need to see, does anybody know what a song is? A psalm is by definition. Yep. Indeed. What kind of song? Now, I'm going to tell you something. That's the correct answer. In Hebrew, it's going to give you more. In Greek, it's going to just say that. Now, psalmos, a striking the chords of a musical instrument, or a pious song, a song. Now, it says a set piece of music, a sacred ode accompanied with the voice, harp, or other instrument, a song. Now, some people will tell you, oh, the book of Psalms is a book of spells and all that other type of stuff. But the reality, the book of Psalms, by definition, is an entire book of praise music. That's literally what it is, by definition. And we're going to see that in the Hebrew in a moment. But by definition, that's literally what it is. And I'm going to show you something that is always kind of overlooked. Hymn is hymnos, or humnos. That is a song in the praise of gods, heroes, or conquerors. Second definition, a sacred song, a hymn. A hymn or religious ode, or one of the songs. What is a spiritual song? Now, songs in the Greek is ode, which is a song, a lay, and an ode. And of course, you know, for spiritual, it's got the standard Greek word, which is pneumatos, which is referring to the human spirit, so on and so forth. Their language rendition of shlomika, ruach, or breath. So, yes, and that's by Hebrew definition, that's what a psalm is. It's a poem set to music. What I want you to do, man, real quick, because I know most of you know that the Psalms are attributed to David. but most of the Psalms were written by somebody else. And does anybody know who that individual is that the majority of these Psalms were written by? Because I know everybody knows that, most of the Psalms are attributed to David, but the majority of the Psalms were written by somebody else. And you just heard his name. No, it's not Solomon. Solomon does not have a song. And Solomon is in the book of Proverbs, the book of Ecclesiastes, and the Songs of Solomon. Yes, Asaph. And then again, I'm going to read 1 Chronicles 15 again. Yeah, and I think when we dealt with the priesthood, we dealt with this also. But right here in 1 Chronicles 15, stop, son. Stop. No. What verse it is? Verse 16. And David spake to the chief of the Levites to appoint their brethren to be singers with the instruments of music, psalteries, harps, and cymbals, sounding by lifting up the voice with joy. So the Levites appointed Heman, the son of Joel, and of his brethren, Asaph, the son of Berechiah, and of the sons of Merari, their brethren, Ethan, the son of Kusiah. Now, yeah, Asaph's name is at the top of the majority of the Psalms. The majority of the Psalms, it's 150 Psalms. David did not write all 150. You know what I'm saying? He's just attributed with writing them because he has the more prominent ones. But also it'll tell you to the chief musician. A lot of these you'll see to the chief musician, a Psalm of David, to the chief musician, repeatedly, because they are the ones who are actually playing the instrumentation. Some of these David wrote. I think David's last psalm is Psalm 72. Yeah, Psalms of 72. Psalm 72. That's the last one. You get to Psalm 73 and on, this is all Asaph. Yeah, that's all Asaph. So understand that Asaph is not only a Levite, Asaph is literally a high priest. He's of the sons of Aaron. So you have to keep that in your brain. You know what I'm saying? Asaph is just not a random individual. He's appointed by the king as of the high priest. And of course, we read in Numbers 1, it's the high priest's job to do the service to the tabernacle of the congregation. And he was appointed to be a singer. So let me read that one more time. And David spake, this is verse 16 of 1 Chronicles 15. And David spake to the chief of the Levites to appoint their brethren, the singers with instruments of music, psalteries, and harps and cymbals, sounding by lifting up the voice. So the Levites appointed Heman, the son of Joel, and of his brethren, Asaph, the son of Berechiah, and of the sons of Merari, their brethren, Ethan, the son of Kusiah. Now, I'm going to read you what the definition of this Hebrew word chief musician is, which is nasak, which is a word you've heard before, nun, sod, and kot. It is to excel, to be bright, to be preeminent, to be perpetual, to be an overseer, to be enduring, to act as an overseer, a superintendent, a director, or chief. To be eminent, a superintendent, especially of the temple services and its music, to be permanent. Now, this is the part of the game, because I was telling Derek this earlier, to the question that bro asked, which is not a bad question. You know, a lot of people be thinking people ask questions because they be wanting to be contentious or certain things of that nature. Some people really be wanting to say, hey, I don't want to overlook nothing. And maybe somebody's seen something that I didn't see. You know what I'm saying? A lot of niggas, they just be wanting to fight all the time. Dudes be on some other type of time. Everything don't be a fight. Some people genuinely like, hey, I might miss something. So, yeah, you know what I mean? But because people overlook the fact Most people don't pay attention to the courses, how the Levites were divided, and that all these psalms, that he's the chief musician, and that if he's the chief musician, he's the high priest. All of these things are set up for the execution to do during temple services. So what does that mean if it's during temple services? That means these things are done during unleavened bread. These things are done during Feast of Weeks. These things are done during the Feast of Tabernacles or Booths, because this is when everybody's going to come to the temple and the Levites are going to be there performing their services. This is what people don't understand. Not only are they going to be doing their sacrifices, they're going to be doing the singing, burning the end. They're going to be doing all of this because this is what David slotted them to do. So when you see the chief musician, Asaph, and this is a conversation we had years ago with a brother, man, because he wanted me to sing. And I'm like, bro, I don't sing, blood. I'm like, he was like, no, I'm like, everybody is not set to do the same thing. You know what I'm saying? Every Levite didn't sing. And every Levite didn't burn incense. You know what I'm saying? When I say Levite in this instance, I'm referring to the high priest. Everybody didn't do the same thing. But we got it in our mind that everybody's supposed to do everything. Everybody didn't do everything. As we read earlier, as forth as courses, that's the organizational structure. There's a structure. There's an individual who does this. There's an individual who does that. There's an individual who does this. You should also remember that from the law, because he laid that out in the law. Pause. Let me show you that, because this is giving us another instance of going back over, looking at what the Levites did all over again. Come over here, man. What they did? Numbers, 18, man? Come over here to number 7 first. And just walk it down and go to each one and you can see it. This is Numbers chapter 7, man. Verse 4. Number 7 and 4, man. And Yahuwah spake unto Moses, saying, take it of them that they may do the service of the tabernacle of the congregation, and you shall give unto them the Levites to every man according to his service. Moses took the wagons and the oxen and gave them unto the Levites. 2 wagons and 4 oxen gave he the sons of Gershon according to their service. 4 wagons and 8 oxen gave he the sons of Merari according to their service. And under the hands of Ithamar the sons of Aaron the priest. But unto the sons of Kohath gave he none, because the service of the sanctuary belonging unto them, that they should bear upon their shoulders. Now notice that the sons of Kohath didn't do what the sons of Merari and the sons of Gershon did. Now let's look at another instance where it gets even more detailed in that regard. Dwayne, chill out, son. Nah, he just want to sing. Boom. Make sure that's the one I want. This might not be the one I want. Let me see if number 4 what I want. Yep, it is. Come over here to number chapter 4. Four and 29. Well, it's really got to set up all the way so I can just run it and start at verse 1. We talked about this in the past, because a lot of people do a lot of things, especially when they were mentioning the 30 years old and upwards. And they thinking that's just for the execution of teaching the word and not paying attention who that pertains to. Because that doesn't pertain to how people think it goes. You feel me? So this is Numbers 4 and 1. Yahuwah speaking to Moses spake unto Moses and unto Aaron, saying, take the sum of the sons of Kohath from among the sons of Levi after their families by the house of their fathers, from 30 years old and upwards, even unto 50 years old, all that enter into the host to do the work of the tabernacle of the congregation. This, the service of the sons of Kohath in the tabernacle of the congregation, about the most Kadash things. When the camp set forward, Aaron shall come and his sons, and they shall take down the covering veil and cover the ark of the testimony with it. And they shall put thereon the covering of badger skins, and shall spread over it cloth wholly of blue, and shall put the staves thereof. And upon a table of shewbread, they shall spread a cloth blue, and put thereon the dishes and the spoons and the bowls to cover withal, and to continual bread shall be thereon. And they shall spread upon them a cloth of scarlet, and cover the same with coverings of badger skins, and shall put in the staves thereof. And they shall take a cloth of blue, and cover the candlestick of the light, and his lamps, and his tongs, and his snuff dishes, and all the oil vessels thereof, wherein they minister unto it. That's their job. That's all the sons of Kohath are supposed to do. I read verse 15, it'll run into 16, and then we'll get to Gershon. Aaron and his sons have made an end of covering the sanctuary and all the vessels of the sanctuary as the camp is set forward. After that, the sons of Kohath shall come bare. They shall not touch Kadash thing, lest they die. These things, it's all right. These things are the burden of the sons of Kohath in the tabernacle of the congregation. And to the officer Eleazar of the son of the priest, the oil for light, and the sweet incense, and the daily meat offering, and the anointing oil, and the oversight over all the tabernacle, and that therein, and the sanctuary, and the vessels thereof. And Yahuwah spake unto Moses unto Aaron, saying, cut you not off the tribe of the families of the Kohathites from among the Levites. Stop, boy. But thus do unto them that they may live and not die, when they approach unto the most Kadash things. Aaron and his sons shall go in and appoint them every one to the service and to his burden. But they shall not go in to see when the Kadash things are covered, lest they die. Stop. And Yahuwah spake unto Moses, saying, take also the sum of the sons of Gershon throughout the house of their fathers by their families, from 30 years old and upwards unto 50 years old shall you number them. See, and that's the other part that people not looking at when he said that, is that this is when they should be numbered, not the period of time, if you would. Stop. And all that enter in to perform the service, to do the work of the tabernacle of the congregation, this is the service of the family of the Gershonites, to serve and for burdens. They shall bear the curtains of the tabernacle. And the tabernacle of the congregation is covering, the covering of badger skins, above and upon it, for the hanging of the door of the tabernacle of the congregation, for the hanging of the court, the hanging of the door of the gate of the court, which is by the tabernacle, and by the altar round about the court, and their instruments of service, all that is made for them, so shall they serve. And the appointment of Aaron and his sons shall be all the service of the sons of the Gershonites, and all their burdens, and in all their service, and you shall appoint them into the charge of all their burdens. This is the service of the families of the sons of Gershon in the tabernacle of the congregation, that their charge should be under the hand of Ithamar, the son of Aaron the priest. That's why you need to sit. Stop. No. Sit in the chair. No. Hey, cut all that out, boy. And of the sons of Merari you shall number, after their families of the house of their fathers, 30 years old and upwards, even under 50 years old, shall you number them, everyone that entered into service to do the work of the tabernacle of the congregation. This is the charge of their service, according to all their service in the tabernacle of the congregation, and the boards of the tabernacle, and the bars, and the pillars, and the sockets, and the pillars of the court round about, their sockets, their pins, their cords, with all their instruments, with all their service. And by name shall you reckon the instruments of their charge of their burden. This is the service of the families of the sons of Merari. Now, we just read all that to establish the fact that everybody don't have the same job. Everybody don't do the same thing. So when David comes through and he set these courses, these are things that you can already see that for all intents and purposes, Yahuwah set forth in the law already. Let's make sure we ain't missing nothing else before we get from over here. Hey, y'all, chill out. And we good. Let's come back to where we was at. I was reading the definition from Psalm 75. And that was relating to the chief musician. Now, remember, we did a whole thing with Psalms as far as the testimony, and Mizmor was the word that we used instead of Telahim. Mizmor, Meme, Zayin, Meme, Ooh, and Rosh. That is a melody. That is a song. Properly, instrumental music by implication, a poem set to notes, a song. So, of all intents and purposes, Psalms is a book of worship music, or praise music, excuse me, more correctly. That's what it is. Now, also, okay, it's a word of prophecy, clearly, because David and Asaph and Heman were moved by the Ruach HaKodesh to speak the things that they spoke. You understand? But fundamentally and explicitly and expressly, it's a book of praise music. That's what it is. That's what it's always been. We just don't see it that way. A lot of people don't execute it that way. So that's why we don't look at it that way. Let's come back over here to 1 Chronicles 16. And because a lot of times we don't really take the time to look at what the Levites did, what their jobs were, what services actually look like. And because a lot of people that's why y'all need to sit down and chill out. What is he crying for? What's wrong with you, boy? What's wrong with you, boy? You poked him in the eye. He is poked in the eye. He can't open it. And something hit him in his eye. Let me see, bro. Let me see. You all right? Let me see. Stop rubbing it. I don't know what you called him with, but you called him the son. Son called him in his eye. Was all song meant to be praised? Hold on, I can't see that. Say, was all songs meant to be praised and we corrupted it? I wouldn't say that we corrupted it. The Psalms is your favorite book. I looked at it as a way to communicate with the Lord. Well, I mean, it's not a book that you can't communicate with Yahuwah through none of the book. You know what I'm saying? The book communicate Yahuwah to you. You know what I'm saying? But effectively, it is a book of prophecy, clearly. You know what I'm talking about? But at its fundamental core, it's a book of praise music. It's what it is. You know what I'm saying? By strict definition. So when we read Colossians and it tell you, to sing spiritual songs and hymns and psalms to one another, this is why. And that element, and of course it was done with music by the chief musicians. Because of somehow people have a strong disdain for what they perceive to be Christian things, man. You know what I'm saying? That's why people look at this stuff with disgust or aversion or things of that nature. You know what I'm saying? Versus looking at it for specifically and exactly what it is. So we're going to come over here to 1 Chronicles 16, which is continuing on from 1 Chronicles 15. Matter of fact, come over here to 1 Chronicles 15. Back again, I'll pick it up at 22, and we'll reference this thing again with Kaniah. Because all this is here, especially when they're dealing with the ark, because they're bringing the ark into Jerusalem. They're bringing the ark in for the purposes of having worship service, if you will. When we say worship service, pause for a second and come over here to Nehemiah 8. When we say worship service, this is what we're referencing. And this is all a part of it, of what it looks like. The part of the service is worship, is praise, and it's reading of the text. That's everything that come along with it. Well, y'all got to be careful. Nehemiah 8:1. But since we're talking about it, we can just sit back and look at it in its totality. Now I will say this here as far as Damien, man, how you look at it, it's like, okay, we corrupted it. What people more do is give their own private interpretation of things. You know what I'm saying? It's not necessarily, I would say, that the word has been corrupted, but individuals corrupt understandings and interpretations. Nehemiah 8:1. All the people were gathered themselves together as one man into the street that was before the water gate. And they spake unto Ezra the scribe to bring the book of the law of Moses, which Yahuwah commanded to Yasharal. Ezra the priest brought the law before the congregation, men and women, all that could hear with understanding upon the first day of the 7th month. Hey, cut it out. If it's the first day of the 7th month, that means it's trumpets. This is when they gathered together. And he read therein before the street that was before the water gate, from the morning unto midday, before the men and women and those that could understand, and the ears of the people unto the book of the law. Ezra the scribe stood upon a pulpit of wood, which they made for this purpose. And besides him stood Matthiah, Shemaiah, Ananiah, Uriah, Hilkiah, Maaseiah on the right hand, and on his left, Pedaiah, Mishael, Micaiah, Hashum, Hashbaddanah, Zechariah, and Meshullam. Ezra opened the book in the sight of all the people, for he was above all the people. And when he opened it, all the people stood up. So, and cut it out. Now, this is one of the aspects that you see this being done. It doesn't necessarily mean that it has to be done like this every single solitary time, but you see that when he opened the book, the people stood up, the people standing up as a means of respect. Let's continue. Ezra Baruch Yahuwah, the great Elohim, and all the people answered, Amen, Amen, with the lifting up their hands, and they bow their heads and worship Yahuwah with their faces to the ground. Now, you've got two elements. This is where the worship come in, clearly, because after he opened the book, he blesses Yahuwah. The people lift up their hands in praise to Yahuwah. Then they bow their heads down in praise to Yahuwah. Well, in worship to Yahuwah. Now, don't come over here with that. Don't come over here. Go sit down. Don't come over here with that. Because you should have been sitting down on the jump street and nothing would have happened. But y'all intent on doing what you want to do. Then when something go wrong, you want some sympathy. You ain't getting none. This is the next part. Verse 7. Ezra 8. Nehemiah 8, excuse me. And Yeshua and Bani, Sherebiah, Jamin, Akub, Shababatha, Hodiah, Messiah, Kalida, Azariah, Jehozabad, Anan, Peliah, and the Levites caused the people to understand the law, and the people stood in their place. So they read in the book of the law of Elohim distinctly and gave sense and cause to understand the reading. Nehemiah, which the Tirshatha and Ezra the priest and the scribe and the Levites that taught the people said unto all the people, this day Kadash unto Yahuwah, your Elohim, mourn not, weep. For all the people wept when they heard the words of the law. Then he said unto them, go your way, eat the fat, drink the sweet, send portions unto them whom nothing is prepared. For this day is Kadash unto our Lord, neither be you sorry, for the joy of Yahuwah is your strength. So the Levites stilled all the people, saying, hold your shalom, for the day is Kadash, neither be you grieved. And all the people went their way to eat and drink and to send portions and to make great mirth, because they understood the words that were declared unto them. And on the second day were gathered all the chief of the fathers, of the people, the priests, and the Levites under Ezra the scribe, even to understand the words of the law. And they found written in the law which Yahuwah commanded by Moses, and the sons of Yasharal should dwell in booths in the feast of the 7th month. Now, this is when they go ahead to hit tabernacles. Boom, boom, boom. So this is one of the aspects that you see of what is a part of a worship service. The reading of the book, the worshiping of God, the praise of God. So now we come back to 1 Chronicles 16, or 15 and 22. Now, why are we referencing that? Because they're bringing up the ark, and they bring it into Jerusalem. And then this will also establish the fact that Heman and Asaph were the chief musicians. This is their job in the sanctuary, in the tabernacle, to do exactly what's laid out. 1 Chronicles 15 and 22. Caniah, chief of the Levites, for song. He was instructed about the song because he was skillful. Just on general principle, what it is to be skillful. Skillful in this instance is B'nai, Ba, and Nun. To discern, to understand, to perceive, to understand, to observe, to distinguish, to consider, to have insight, to have understanding, to be prudent, to regard, to teach, and to instruct, to be cunning, eloquent, to have intelligence, so on and so forth. He had understanding when it pertains to song. Now, we mentioned certain things about song earlier. You got the Miriam song, you got the song of Moses, you got Deborah's song. Now, what's her problem? Well, she's doing that because she's seeking comfort. But she's seeking comfort. I tell your mom the same thing. If that's going to calm her down, then bite that bullet. It's not that serious. Because that's what's going to soothe her so she can chill out. It's more important that she chill out. We're trying to do something. That's it. That's her soothing mechanism. Now look at verse 23. Bechariah and Elkanah, doorkeepers up for the ark. Shebaniah, Jehoshaphat, Nethanel, Amasai, Zechariah, Benaiah, Eleazar the priest did blow the trumpets before the ark of Elohim. Hey, go in your room with that. Because I can't operate with all that. Obed-Edom and Jaiah, doorkeepers for the ark. So David and the elders of Yasharal, captains over thousands, went up to bring the ark of the covenant of Yahuwah out of the house of Obed-Edom with joy. And it came to pass when Elohim helped the Levites that bear the ark of the covenant of Yahuwah, that they offered 7,000 bullocks and 7 rams. David clothed with a robe of fine linen, and all the Levites that bear the ark, and the singers, Caniah, the master of the song with the singers, and David also had upon him an ephod of linen. Hold on, get up, son. What's your problem? What's your problem? Oh, that's it. Hey, you can't do that. Then go in your room and lay down. Go in your room and lay down. Go in there and lay down. Go in there and lay down. She ready to go to bed. Let's look at the master of the songs. Now we look at master. That's Saul. Sean and Raj. This is the prince, ruler, leader, or chief, head overseer of the song. Joanne, just go lay down. Song in this instance, Messiah, which we already mentioned. Hold on, y'all. Because she's just not going to go get in the bed. Hey. Call all that noise out. Hey, don't come over here with that noise. Be quiet. Just sit down. Hey, don't come over here with all that noise. You do all that, just go get in the bed. No, you can't do all that. Just go get in the bed. That's all you got to do is go get in the bed. Now this is verse 27. David was clothed with a robe of fine linen. That's gone, boy. Well, I just told you that's gone, boy. Come here, boy. Hey, chill out. Hey, chill out. You ain't got nothing to be crying about. Don't touch nothing. Now, this is verse 27. Nah, ain't enough room for all that. And you're going to have to get down. Y'all got to get down. You need to sit down. You need to chill out. And David was clothed with a robe of fine linen, and all the Levites bear the ark, and the singers, Kenaiah, the master of the song, with the singers. David had also upon him an ephod of linen. Thus all Yasharal brought up the ark of the covenant of Yahuwah with shouting, with the sound of the cornet, with trumpets, with cymbals making noise, and psalteries and harps. And it came to pass, as the ark of the covenant of Yahuwah came to the city of David, that Michal, the daughter of Saul, looking out the window, saw King David dancing and playing, and she despised him in her heart. Now we're going to come over here to Psalms, 1 Chronicles 16 and 7. And this is David's psalm of gratitude. This is the first psalm that he gave to give thanks to Yahuwah. And then we'll mention this here again with Zadok, and it allows us to get back to that point of what we're dealing with Zadok. 1 Chronicles 16 and 7. Then on that day, David delivered the first psalm, was delivered first. Thank the Yahuwah into the hand of Asaph and his brethren. Let me give you who Asaph is. Because first psalm ain't even in there. They just put that there. Get down before you fall. Asaph, gatherer, Aleph, Samach, and Pei. And again, this is the son of Bechariah, chief Levite musician under David. Also, there's another gentleman by the name of Asaph, which is Hezekiah's secretary, and then somebody who was in the royal forest during the time of the Persians. Give thanks unto Yahuwah and call upon his name. Make his known his deeds among the people. Sing unto him. Sing psalms unto him. Talk you all of his wondrous works. So when we read earlier in Colossians, we'll tell you to do that. Of course, this is made reference in the first psalm that he wrote. Now, when you have psalms here, this is Zamar, Zayin, Mim, and Rosh, to sing praise, to make music, to sing, to play a musical instrument, properly to touch the strings or parts of a musical instrument, to play upon it, to make music, accompanied by the voice, hence to celebrate in song and music, to give praise, to sing forth praises, songs. So again, with Asaph being the chief musician, and like I said, a lot of people skip over that and miss that the aspect of singing to music during service is a common thing. You know what I'm saying? Common thing. You know what I'm saying? Even more so common during the time of David. You know what I'm saying? Even more so common. That's not an abnormal thing. People think that's a Christian thing. You know, yeah, facts. That's not a Christian thing. You know what I'm saying? That's a biblically based thing, and it is what it is. You know what I'm saying? And sometimes you have to stop looking at to think that Christians doing everything wrong or this, that, and the third, because they ain't got everything wrong. Now, of course, they tell you to sing unto him songs. Peace, Brother Joseph, man. So again, Zamar, to sing praise, to make music, to sing, and also to play a musical instrument. Esteem you in his Kadash name. Let the heart of them rejoice that seek Yahuwah. Seek Yahuwah in his strength. Seek his face continually. Remember his marvelous works that he have done, his wonders and the judgment of his mouth. O you seed of Yasharal, his servant, you sons of Jacob, his chosen ones. He is Yahuwah Elohim. His judgments are in all the earth. Be you mindful always of his covenant, the word he commanded to 1,000 generations, which he made with Abraham and of his oath with unto Isaac. And he had confirmed the same to Jacob for a law, to Yasharal an everlasting covenant. Saying unto you, will I give the land of Canaan the lot of your inheritance. When you were but few, even a few and strangers in it, and when they went from nation to nation, from one Malkuth to another people, he suffered no man to do them wrong. He reproved kings for their sakes. Touch not my anointed, and do my prophets no harm. Sing unto Yahuwah, all the earth, show forth from day to day his salvation, which is part of the reason why we preach Yahushua HaMashiach. That goes with what we were talking about in Psalms 10 and Romans 10. And things of that sort in regards to when you preach Yahushua HaMashiach, you're showing forth his salvation because Yahushua is Yahuwah's salvation. So from day to day, when he's preached, the salvation of Yahuwah is shown forth. Hey, go sit down on the couch. You know what I'm saying? Go. Verse 24, declare his esteem among the heathen, his marvelous works among all nations. For great is Yahuwah and greatly to be praised. He's also to be feared above all Elohims. For all the gods of the people are idols, but Yahuwah made Shamaim. Esteem and honor in his presence, strength and gladness are in his place. Give unto Yahuwah, you kindreds of the people. Give unto Yahuwah esteem and strength. Give unto Yahuwah the esteem unto his name. Bring an offering, come before him, and worship Yahuwah in the beauty of Kadash. Fear before him all the earth, let all the world also be stable, that it be not moved. Let Shamahim be glad, let the earth rejoice. Let men say among the nations, Yahuwah reign. Let the sea roar, the fullness thereof. Let the fields rejoice and all that is therein. Then shall the trees of the wood sing out at the presence of Yahuwah, because he come to judge the earth. Oh, give thanks unto Yahuwah, for he is good, and his mercy endure forever. And you say, save us, O Elohim, of our salvation. Gather us together and deliver us from the heathen, that we might give thanks to your Kadash name and esteem in your praise. Baruch Yahuwah Elohim of Yasharal forever and ever. And all the people said, amen, and praise Yahuwah. Now, let's take a look at Luke chapter 4 and the aspect of the custom that Yahushua had on the Shabbat. And this is just the aspect of kind of what you've seen in Nehemiah. Because for most people's minds, this is the only thing that they feel should be done. And guess what? That's cool too, because it's going to depend on, just like how you've seen each priest, whether it was the sons of Aaron, and we didn't go through all the courses like that. If you have a multitude of priests, for lack of a better term, rolling with you, then you have a multitude of different things. Because like I said, now every priest has the ability to teach the word, but every priest ain't going to be no singer. You know what I'm saying? Because there's no way you could be a priest and not know the word to be able to teach it. I'll give you an example, because we was having this conversation the other day. So I'm going to ask y'all, and I'm going to get y'all feedback. Now, my homeboy, and his point of view is understandable. I mean, the fundamental core point of view, that he believes that something is not explicitly stated in the Torah, in the law, you can't say that that's a sin. Now, these are the examples that were given. There were 3 different examples in the course of this conversation. Now, I offered a particular passage. I'll read it. Then I'll see how you all would judge this particular matter. 1, he says, if you sit back and you see 2 men walking, holding hands, and then they kiss, is this a sin? The second one is lesbianism. Woman on woman is not explicitly laid out in the Torah. Is it a sin? And the third one was, if you as a man desired to be pegged, come on, son. You can't keep going back and forth. You either gonna stay or you gonna go. No, 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 no. Tuck the lip back in. It's not what you're doing. It's not what you're doing. You're not gonna cry your way out of everything. That's not what you're doing. Is that a sin because it's not explicitly laid out in the text? So my question is, how would you judge that matter? Another one of our homeboys was asking this question in the regards of what stated it like, hey, you would have to give that to the judges of the land, and they would have to determine that. That's fair because that's what the law says. But now, of course, you're not in that type of situation and circumstance. Now, one of the individuals I referenced, he don't believe in Yahusha. So that's full disclosure. Nevertheless, with those three instances, if somebody say, hey, I want my wife to peg me, how are you going to explain that from the text? If somebody says, well, hey, it doesn't say it's a sin to be a lesbian. How you going to handle that? What would you look to? Now, me, myself, some people look at this and say, hey, you're going to go by your emotions and how you feel. I'm not one of those type of individuals. Me personally, I believe if individuals are in the word, then they should have the ability to make judgments. Now, of course, we know in 1 Corinthians chapter 2, he says, a spiritual man judgeth all things and is judged by no man. So then this would be the instance, how you going to judge the matter? Because a lot of things that people like to call sin or is evil is things that they don't agree with, and they just want to make it be that way because that's their personal opinion. Book don't support. Now, as I stated, hey, man, you let a woman put a strap on, boy, and bust up your back, boy, you gay. You know what I'm talking about? And there ain't no ifs, ands, or buts about that. Well, you's a homosexual. You know what I'm talking about? That's right, my righteous judgment. You's a homosexual. And the reason what you're doing is you're trying to justify it in your mind because a woman's doing it. It's not a man, so you're trying to tell yourself you're not gay. But, sir, you're gay. You know what I'm saying? You're gay. There's no ifs, ands, buts about that. You a homosexual. You know what I'm talking about? But how would y'all answer that? According to the book, how you going to answer that? Now, I posed the question to everybody as it pertains to this. And when I posed this question, I was told that this would be being subjective. But I want to see how anybody can answer that before I read that. And the case in point, what I mentioned is because you have people who will tell you, nah, you can't come from Romans because they saying in the law. You know what I'm saying? That's why I be big on y'all. You got to, when people mention certain things, you got to hear what they saying. Because they saying, where is that written in the law? Romans not the law. So you got people, they're not going to accept Romans. They saying, where in the law can you go in the law and point to somebody and say, that's wrong? You know what I'm talking about? Because case in point, you got people who will tell you gambling is a sin. The law doesn't speak to that. This is why some people say, oh, it's not a sin to smoke marijuana because the law don't speak to that. But at the same token, they'll tell people don't smoke crack or don't do this. Or if you have people say smoking cigarettes is a sin. You got people who will tell you listening to secular music is a sin. Watching secular televisions or movie shows is a sin. You have people who will tell you that. You got people who tell you as a man, if you wear shorts, that's a sin. Nevertheless, these are certain things that are not explicitly laid out in the law. And what Madal's point was, he wasn't going to call it a sin if it explicitly don't say that. And some people took it as if he was co-signing men being together without physical intimacy or women being together with physical intimacy, and he was not. He wasn't condoning the conduct. He was saying, I don't have a passage that I can go to that say this is a sin. Say my opinion based on what you're saying. If you serve the Lord, you have some type of inkling that those things are wrong. Some people will wrestle to find a justification. And I get that. And I understand that point of view also. But nevertheless, we have to deal with the aspect of individuals asking you, where is it written? And I'm only asking this question and posing it to you with the strictness of focusing on what's being said, because some people don't want to hear that. And a lot of times we don't be focusing on, or when somebody asks us a direct question on where it say that at. Like me to say Christianity really be on that, because I've heard people when I was young say, it's a sin to smoke cigarettes. Use 1 Corinthians 3 if you defile your temple. Word, Brother Nate, and that's fair. You know what I'm saying? And that's fair. But 1 Corinthians 3 ain't even talking about what you put in your body when it's talking about defiling the temple. People take that and use that wrong, because that's not talking about what you eat. That ain't talking about what you smoke. But individuals don't look at it that way, so they make it to be out what they want it to be. You feel what I'm saying? See, I'm going to read you 1 Corinthians 3 real quick. Now we come to 1 Corinthians 3 and 16. Know you not that you are the temple of Elohim, and the Ruach of Elohim dwell in you. If any man defile the temple of Elohim, him shall Elohim destroy, for the temple of Elohim is Kadash, which you are. So then my question, why you thinking on that, other than Leviticus 18, it would be a matter of bringing common sense to the law? Fair. And this is the thing, in Leviticus 18, it don't speak to pagan. The book is silent on that. Don't speak to lesbianism. Book silent on that. You know what I'm saying? Like, just to be all the way fair and keep it all the way 100. It don't speak to that. You know what I'm saying? So check the flavor. When he say if you defile your temple, he'll destroy you. How does one defile their temple? How do you do that? See, I mentioned that. A lot of people mention Leviticus 18, but Leviticus 18 ain't mentioning nobody pegging you. Leviticus 18 ain't talking about no bull daggers. You know what I'm saying? Now, see, listen, right? We ain't picking verses from the Old Testament, Crystal. We have to be strictly in the law, because that's what they're asking for. You know what I'm saying? Strictly in the law. She mentioned Proverbs 6 and 18, Jeremiah 17 and 10. I can read both of those for you. And like I say, because I know y'all not used to conversing with people of this ilk who do this. Again, this is what I tell you. This is the difference of being in theological spaces and being with regular people. 17 and 10 of Jeremiah says, I, Yahuwah, search the heart and try the reins to give to every man according to his ways, according to the fruit of his doings. Now, of course, we know the verse above that said the heart is deceitful above all things and desperately wicked. Who should know it? And Yahuwah saying, I'm going to try you. Now, Proverbs 6 and 18. A heart that devises wicked imaginations and feet that be swift to run into mischief. And that's fair. None of that is unfair to actually answering the premise outside of somebody who's strictly asking it. Where does that say that in the law? This is why I'm being very anal retentive about that, because I know how people are when it comes to them type of thing. Where does say that in the law? Because that's what they want. If it don't say that in the law, then they like, it ain't wrong. You understand? So listen, before I read this Luke 4, I want you to hear Deuteronomy 25. I want you to hear verse 13. You shall not have in your bag diverse weights, a great and a small. You shall not have in your house diverse measures, a great and a small. You shall have a perfect and just weight, a perfect and just measure. Shall you have that your day? What's the problem now? But you shall have a perfect and just weight. Now, Genesis 6 and 5 not going to speak to that, because when it say corrupting his way, it's not specifically and explicitly talking about lesbianism or pegging. Now, I'm not saying you wrong. I'm saying that when people ask certain questions, you have to answer them according to what what is asked, or they're not going to reject. It's weird because y'all not used to talking to people like that. But it's some people, they like this here. Where does it say that at? And if you go somewhere and it don't say exactly what they asking for, then they not going to accept it. You know what I'm saying? Now, again, Madal not saying that these are right behaviors. He's saying he can't call it a sin because it doesn't say it. And to be fair, it does not say anything explicitly about lesbians. It does not. And we can't say that it is because it's not. And I agree with that, Damien. And we got a verse where he said, at the end of the day, if Jesus was in the room, would you do it? And that's fair also. But now let's listen to verse 15. Joanne, chill out. You shall have a perfect and just weight. A perfect and just measure shall you have, that your days may be lengthened in the land which Yahuwah your Elohim give you. For all that do such things, and all that do unrighteously, are an abomination unto Yahuwah your Elohim. I don't need you to go back and forth with her. If she's doing all that, bring her here. That's what I don't need. I don't need you to go back and forth with her. That's causing extra noise. If she won't walk over there, just leave her alone. And just bring him over here. When you look at unrighteously, it is a veil. Yeah, that's all you got to do. Just get up and walk away. Just stop going back and forth with her. Ayin, U, and Lamad. Injustice, unrighteousness, wrong, violent deeds of injustice, injustice of speech, injustice generally. This is moral evil, iniquity, perverseness, unjustly, unrighteousness, wickedness. Now we talk about what perverseness is because that comes from aval, which is to pervert. Yeah, but that's not dealing with lesbianism. That's dealing with man to man. You know what I'm saying? That's not talking about woman to woman because it says you won't lay with a man. Don't lay with a man like you lay with a woman. You know what I'm talking about? See, now the aspect what you have to look at is when you look at a veil for unrighteousness, because when I told my dog that verse, he was like, okay, unrighteousness is subjective, but it's not subjective because it just told you that one of the definitions of it is to be perverse. Well, one of the definitions of the word iniquity or a veil or a bond, is to pervert. So then how do you pervert? That means you pervert the original intent. Now, this is when you talking about you bringing something to give forth understanding. You know what I'm talking about? Not something that's going to explicitly say that. Because you're going to have some people, they're going to look for it to explicitly say that word for word, and you're not going to be able to satisfy them unless it explicitly says that, and you have to go into that knowing that. And if an individual is on that, you got to let them have that. You know what I'm talking about? Now, when you're dealing with as forth as you imparting an understanding, some individuals going to look at that's your interpretation of it. It don't explicitly say it, so that's what it is. And you got to let that be. You got to let that be. You know what I'm talking about? Now, what I'm referencing here is, again, let me read the definition of unrighteously again. And then I go to Exodus 34 and give you the definition of iniquity. Avel, Ayin, U, Lamad. Injustice, unrighteousness, wrong, violent deeds of injustice, injustice of speech, injustice generally, moral evil, iniquity, perverseness, unjustly, unrighteousness, wickedness. So when you come over here to Exodus 34, and he tells you that he forgives sins, iniquity, that's Genesis 34, and transgression. And we read the definition of iniquity, which is avon, perversity, depravity, iniquity, guilt or punishment of iniquity, consequences of punishment. Now, let's look at what does depravity and perversity mean. Let's look at depravity. Indeed, you look at it if you lead away. Now, what is depravity? A state of moral corruption, wickedness, or immoral behavior, often describing deeply corrupt acts or character completely lacking virtue. It indicates a fundamental deviation from acceptable moral standards, such as in instances, of severe cruelty. It is frequently used to describe extreme wickedness or degenerate behavior. It can denote a specific vile act or practice. Synonyms of depravity is corruption, vice, evil, criminality, degeneracy, immorality, wickedness, degradation, licentiousness, and perversion. Now, you'll see licentiousness in the epistle letters. So let's swing over here. Now, of course, we use the totality of the book. Sometimes you have to look at people who do not. Always remember, everybody doesn't necessarily have your point of view. So when you understand that everybody doesn't have your point of view, this is when you think about when Paul says you got to become all things to all people. Because you're going to have to be able to communicate to them in the way that they understand, in the way that they're coming from. Now, of course, on our side of the game, we deal with things in this totality and derive and understand. That's why I say fundamentally, most of the answers that y'all gave are not incorrect. But when you're dealing with individuals who are looking for something to explicitly say this, the answers that are given are not going to satisfy them. It's just not. You know what I'm saying? Now, we read in Nehemiah to cause those who have understanding to understand the reading. Or as it says in Proverbs, my words are plain to those who have understanding in it. There's nothing froward or perverse in them. You know what I'm talking about? This is what he told you. So you would already know that, hey, to participate in such conduct is froward and perverse. Because what is the original intent? He formed man from the dust of the ground. He took man and woman out of the man. And he said, a man shall leave his father and mother and shall cleave unto his wife, and they shall be one flesh. So that is the intent. So if it's man to man, you're perverting the intent. If it's woman on woman, you're perverting the intent, because that is not what he intended. So therefore, you would be doing unrighteously, and you would be an abomination, because you would have a false weight and a false balance. And our individual look, that's your personal opinion. Well, then that's how you look at it then. I'm not going to go back and forth with you about it. You know what I'm saying? So it's just not going to work. You know what I'm saying? But come over here to... Let me see it. See where if it got that word even in here. Licentiousness. It's got lasciviousness, which is about the same. I'll give the English definition of licentiousness in a second. Also, key antonyms are those are work. We don't need those. Now, the meaning of depravity is corrupt act or practice. So when you're looking at that behavior, that's corrupt. That's a corrupt behavior. What was the other word I needed, man? Perverseness. Boy, cut that out, boy. Perverseness is the quality of being deliberately unreasonable, stubborn, or contrary, often choosing to act against what is good, normal, or expected. It implies a willful, persistent resistance to guidance, discipline, or conventional morality. Synonyms include contrariety, stubbornness, waywardness, and orneriness, or being ornery. Deliberate misbehavior, moral deviation, an unreasonable attitude, perversity, contrariness, stubbornness, obstinacy, waywardness, cussedness, disobedience, indiscipline, defiance, and a raucatran, or you know what I'm saying, which is basically somebody that I'm going to do whatever I want to do. Now, to be perverse is having a unruliness and a resistance to guidance or discipline. So this is an individual, you don't want no word, and you want to fulfill your personal desires. It's already a bag in it. So come over here to Luke 4. This is why I asked all that question, because I said that wasn't a contentious conversation. It's just sometimes people hear things, they hear what they want to hear, they want to espouse it how they want to espouse it. I just want to be able to give you the tools to understand how some people's methodology is, how some people operate, how some people think, how some people come to certain rationales and come to certain conclusions. You know what I'm saying? Because like I said, it doesn't explicitly say in the text anything about lesbianism. It doesn't say anything explicitly about somebody getting pegged. And the first thing that you have to do is be honest enough to say, okay, it doesn't say that. It doesn't speak to that. You don't have to try to go grab something to make it say that it speaks to X, Y, Z. You have to acknowledge it doesn't say that, and then we have an understanding that leads us to this. And this is the methodology how we arrive at that understanding. Because the objective is that you would prayerfully want an individual, if they were engaging in such behavior, to comport themselves to the proper behavior. But more importantly, you want to be able to lay out the proper methodology of what righteousness and godliness looks like, and let that be that. You understand? Let me read this Luke 4 and 16, and then I can read Romans 1. And he came to Nazareth, where he had been brought up, as his custom was. He went into the synagogue on the Shabbat and stood up for to read. Now, I'm just mentioning that because it said his custom was to go in there and read the book, or the book is being read, being taught. You know what I'm saying? That's why the preacher is called, a reciter, or arranging the sentences, because that's what they would do. Come over here to Romans 1, because Marvin mentioned this earlier. Then we get back to Congress and get off of here. This is Romans chapter 1. Verse 18. For the wrath of Elohim is revealed from Shamaim against all ungodliness and unrighteousness of men who hold the truth in unrighteousness, because that which may be known of Elohim is manifest in them, for Elohim showed it unto them. For the invisible things of him from the creation of the world are clearly seen, being understood by the things that are made, his eternal power and Godhead, so they are without excuse. Because when they knew Elohim, they esteemed not as Elohim, neither were thankful, but became vain in their imaginations, and their foolish heart was darkened. And that would go into, Crystal, when you mentioned Proverbs 6 and 18. Professing themselves to be wise, they became fools, and changed the esteem of the uncorruptible Elohim into the image made like corruptible man, into birds and four-footed beasts and creeping things. Wherefore Elohim also gave them up to uncleanness through the lust of their own hearts, to dishonor their own bodies between themselves, who changed the truth of Elohim into a lie, and worship and serve the creature more than the Creator, his Baruch forever. Amen. For this cause Elohim gave them up unto vile affections, for even their women did change the natural use unto that which is against nature. And likewise also the men, leaving the natural use of the woman, burned in their lust one towards another, men with men, working that which is unseemly, and receiving in themselves the recompense of their error, which was meat. Let's look at what is a vile affection. When you look at vile It is a timia, dishonor, ignominy, disgrace, indignity, a disgrace, a dishonor, a reproach, shame, or vile. We'll look at ignominy, what that means in English. Then I'll answer that question that I posed from 1 Corinthians 3. Ignominy is deep shame, disgrace, or humiliation. You know what I'm saying? And a lot of people in this present day society, they don't have any of that. Infamy. The other definition is you sit back and say shameful affections, disgraceful affections. Affections is pathos, a feeling which the mind suffer, affliction of the mind, emotion, or passion. Depraved passions, vile passions, or evil conspicuance, as it says in another place in the epistle letters. Now remember, because some of y'all mentioned, I said in totality. Everybody who answered, none of your answers were incorrect in totality. We just had to stay strictly to the standard that was offered. You know what I'm saying? It's the same way when people be like, where did Cain's wife come from? It don't say. It don't say. And it's okay to say it don't say. Your book don't speak on that. Don't always feel like you have to have the need to create an answer to satisfy somebody when you can simply say it don't speak on that. Here's righteous judgment. See, when you take all these things in totality, what we were taking that Deuteronomy 25, when he say those who do unrighteously, you have to have the ability to judge righteously. Now, of course, it says in another epistle letter to do those things that become a sound doctrine. That's healthy doctrine. Would you teach your child to be a lesbian? Of course you would. Would you teach your son to get pegged? Of course you would. Because what the father do, the son do likewise. Because everything that you do, you should be able to teach your children to do. And if you wouldn't teach your children to do it, then that means you shouldn't do it. And that's a fact, Oman. We talked about that last week. You know what I'm saying? Like I say, when it comes into the advent of certain things in antiquity, as he laid out, he didn't speak on it. It's just like if you're dealing with crack, you're dealing with weed, you're dealing with cigarettes, the text don't speak on that. Then you just have to sit back and make a determination, is this righteous conduct? Some people have no problem with smoking weed. So they're going to come up with passages to justify that. I'm not telling you to come up with passages to justify nothing. What we're talking about is, are you able to make a righteous determination? Is this representative of the deity, of the power, of the mighty one, of the God, of the Elohim that you claim to worship and serve? And that's it. As Damien mentioned, would you do that in front of the Lord? Would you smoke a doobie in front of the Lord? You probably wouldn't. Would you smoke a cigarette in front of the Lord? You probably wouldn't. Now, to be fair, I don't think anyone would perform coitus in front of the Lord, much less some type of sexual depravity or perversion. So that one there is not even something to be mentioned, because I don't believe anybody is going to participate in any type of conjugals in front of the Lord or not. It's the same way that with that conversation to be had periodically when it come up about the marriage bed being undefiled. When that's not talking about what you do in the bed with your wife, or what you do in the bed with your husband. That's not even what that's talking about. You know what I'm saying? That's talking about explicitly if you have conjugals and you not married, or you have conjugals and it's adultery, or you have conjugals and it's anything enumerated in Leviticus 18, that bed is defiled. If you're married, that bed is not defiled. That's all that's talking about. It's not talking about if you into pagan, eating booty, or none of that type of stuff that people try to make that be about. Because that's not what it's talking about. Because that's not even something that they would have been talking about at that period of time. Culturally. Like straight up. You know what I'm saying? And you got to be honest with that. When you look at 1 Corinthians 3, they're talking about the temple being defiled. That's talking about you sinning. You know what I'm saying? Not you eating food, not you smoking cigarettes, smoking crack. When the man told you it's not what go into a man that defile him, but what come out. I don't know how an individual will take 1 Corinthians 3 and then make that be about eating something or smoking something. That ain't what that's talking about. Now, to be fair, during that time period in history, people were smoking marijuana because the Egyptians were smoking marijuana. That's where the name cannabis come from. We talked about this before because they were smoking it to the Dog Star series. So that's why they named it that. But the text don't speak on that. The only thing you'd be able to speak on that on from is, he said, everything you did or seen on the other side of the flood, leave that over there. So if you able to show, hey, these people were doing this as far as marijuana is concerned, hey, that happened on the other side of the flood, you're going to have to leave that over there. Now, an individual may accept that and they may not accept that. My whole point is to get you to stop being so gung-ho to make somebody accept that. Man, all you can do is put it on the floor. Once it's on the floor, hey, it is what it is after that. If that's the standard that you want to move by, then you move by that standard. And that's it. I know a lot of people, you know what I'm saying, Christian or Brew, had to feel the need. And of course, we know the text say that we should all have the same heart and the same mind, and that we should all speak the same things. But hey, man, you can't make an individual see it how you see it. You can't. Just put it on the floor and let that be what it be. You know what I'm talking about? But come on back to Chronicles. I'm gonna have to get ready to get off of here. It ain't showing the running time no more, so I don't even know how long we've been on here. They must have done updated that jump. So the running time is not on there no more. Come back over here to Chronicles, man. What was that? I read all the 16, didn't I? Now, also, Crystal, when you mentioned Genesis 6 and 5, but they corrupted his way on the earth in the totality of the conversation, that is fair. That is fair. You know what I'm saying? Because that would be corrupting his way, no doubt about it. Oh, we already read that. Let me look at this here. Okay, that's when we dealing with Solomon. Let's see what we got here. Oh, yep. Come over here to 2 Chronicles 5 and 12. Also, the Levites, which were the singers, all of them, Asaph, of Heman, of Udithan, with their sons and their brethren, arrayed in white linen, having cymbals, psalteries, and harps, stood at the east end of the altar, and with them 120 priests sounding with trumpets. Indeed, Marvin, indeed. And it came to pass, as the trumpeters and singers were as one, to make one sound to be heard in praising and thanking Yahuwah. And when they lifted up their voice with the trumpet, cymbals, and instruments for music and praised Yahuwah, saying, for he is good, his mercy endure forever. Then the house was filled with the cloud, even the house of Yahuwah, so that the priest could not stand to minister by reason of the cloud, for the esteem of Yahuwah filled the house of Elohim. I told my dog, man, I said, that's not a bad question, because things like that people don't pay attention to. They don't really look at, 2 Chronicles 29. This is when Hezekiah cleansed the temple. As far as operation is concerned, I think we talked about that in 1 Corinthians 14. It's reading the words, it's praise is part of it. It can be a worship part of it. And that's it. You know what I'm saying? Real deliberate, real specific, so on and so forth. For 2 Chronicles 29 and 20. Then Hezekiah the king arose early and gathered the rulers of the city and went up to the house of Yahuwah. And they brought 7 bullocks, 7 rams, 7 lambs, 7 he goats, for the sin offering, for the kingdom, and for the sanctuary, and for Yehuda. Now, see, we could come back and look at that on tomorrow. The sin offering for the kingdom and the sanctuary and for Judah. That'll take us back to Zechariah 12. And he commanded the priests, the sons of Aaron, to offer them on the altar of Yahuwah. So they killed the bullocks, and the priests and received the blood and sprinkled it on the altar. Likewise, when they killed the rams and sprinkled the blood upon the altar, they killed also the lambs, and they sprinkled blood upon the altar. And they brought forth the he-goats for the sin offering before the king and the congregation, and they laid their hands upon them. The priests killed them, and they made reconciliation with the blood upon the altar to make atonement for all Yasharal. For the king commanded the burnt offering and sin offering for all Yasharal. And he set the Levites in the house of Yahuwah with cymbals, with psalteries, and with harps, according to the commandment of David and of Gad, the king's seer, and Nathan the prophet. So was the commandment of Yahuwah by his prophets. And the Levites stood with the instruments of David, and the priests with the trumpets. And Hezekiah commanded to offer the burnt offering upon the altar. And when the burnt offering began, the song of Yahuwah began, with the trumpets, with the instruments, by David, king of Yasharal. And all the congregation worshipped, and the singers sang, and the trumpeters sounded, all until the burnt offering was finished. And when they had made an end of offering, the king and all that they were present bowed themselves and worshipped. Moreover, Hezekiah the king commanded, and the princes commanded the Levites to sing praise unto Yahuwah with the words of David and of Asaph the seer. And they sang praises with gladness, and they bowed their heads in worship. Then Hezekiah answered and said, now you have consecrated yourselves unto Yahuwah. Come near and bring sacrifices and thank offerings into the house of Yahuwah. And the congregation brought in sacrifices and thank offerings, as many as were of free heart burnt offering. Now, this one here in particular is a more explicit standpoint of a worship service, because this was dealing with them keeping Passover again, or coming in, leading into the keeping of Passover. You know what I'm saying? But also, I think everybody be looking for everything to be set up how we have service now. So, that come into it. But nevertheless, we'll stop right now, man. It's about 9:30, man. Hallelujah for Yahushua in the word. I appreciate y'all. Bless y'all the house of Elohim. In the name of Yahushua, y'all willing, man, we'll be back on tomorrow for Passover. You know what I'm saying? Probably start streaming somewhere between 8 and 8:30. For sure, my G. Thank you, who. You know what I'm talking about? We're going to be at the spot out east. You know what I'm saying? You have service, man, and after service, people have performances, to serve the food, all that type of stuff, man. We'll be there also on the Shabbat. Probably start service earlier, probably about 1:30. Come back at about 7:30 for evening. You know what I'm saying? Weekly Shabbat going to be there all, you know what I'm saying? Night portion of Shabbat going to be there. So Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, we're going to be out east. You know what I'm saying? Y'all willing, we'll have people be able to perform each day. How long those performances go, I can't answer, because it's really going to go as long as the individual wants to do it. For sure, Jess. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah, man, we're going to be in there, man. We ain't got to rush up out of there, man. We're going to make it do what it do. So, I appreciate y'all. I bless y'all the house all in the name of Yahshua. I love y'all, man. Shalom, Sister Jenna. Amen. And, yeah, man, we're going to catch y'all on tomorrow. I don't even know where this thing at to stop. Oh, they done moved that junk at the top. Oh, the live time at the top. They done moved junk, man. Yeah, that's what she said. That's what she said. Yeah, we is, Chris.